Fish Baby Daddy here. Want to talk about the benefits of actually doing water changes and why you should do them and what actually it does for your tank. Let's get started. Normally when you're thinking about water changes, you're thinking about, okay, what does it really do for me? What's the benefits of it? And a lot of times you think about the benefits of, hey, you're going to remove waste from the tank. You're going to help remove potential nitrates, which can affect actually much larger fish. So in this tank, you can see that the largest fish I have in here is that Severum. He's going to be impacted a lot more by higher nitrates than actually some of these smaller fish. Now, nitrates themselves are not that great for it. They put stress on the fish and you have a lot more problems, but larger fish are going to see bigger impacts, hole in the head disease, other things that actually impact poor water quality. Obviously, water change is going to help get rid of any ammonia. But I mean, if your tank is cycled, you shouldn't really have a lot of that anyway. But the idea is that you think of water changes, you think of nitrogen cycle, get rid of excessive nitrates, excessive waste, and potential ammonia. But some other things you want to think about when you're looking at water changes. You can see there's a little bit of algae in here right now. If you do a water change, it's actually going to help actually pull some of that algae out and some of the properties that would create some of that algae. So water changes do a great job of actually help getting rid of excessive algae and actually help kind of clean up plants as well. If you look at some of your healthiest plant tanks, doing water changes is great for them. It actually helps the plants actually look a lot better. They're going to feel a lot better. They're going to have brighter colors. They're going to look just overall healthier. So water changes do a lot for plants, because a lot of times people think of, well, if I have a heavily planted tank, they're going to do the job and I'm not going to do as many water changes. Well, water changes can help the plants and plant health. A lot of times when we're thinking about actually doing water changes, it can actually help adjust barometric pressure. It can actually help stimulate spawning and help get the fish actually in the mood. And if you're really good, you can actually time with weather patterns. So if you actually have weather that's outside, it's about to rain, the barometric pressure outside with a combination of doing a water change can help stimulate spawning. It can help actually get breeding going. And then that'd be a great way of actually getting the ball rolling. So water changes, there's a lot more to it than that. If you're seeing a lot of excessive waste in tanks sometimes, you're seeing excessive algae or what we call phosphates. Phosphates get removed a lot from actually doing water changes. In this situation, I did a water change in here. It would help get removed, like probably reduce our phosphates a little bit and actually help with getting rid of some of this algae, unless that is your intent and purpose. But overall, if you're trying to actually reduce your phosphate levels or some of your waste, a water change is going to do a good job of that. But a lot of times people don't think of their phosphates of actually getting reduced, and less phosphates would actually help with less algae. When you got small fish and you're trying to get them to grow, actually doing water changes actually stimulates growth hormone. It can help actually get the fish to develop and grow faster. So doing more often water changes, if you had smaller fish, you'll see better color and you'll see better growth development from water changes. And sometimes people, for other general maintenance stuff, like for instance, if you got a newer tank and you're trying to get that set up and you got this little bit of cloudy water in there, a water change does a great job of cleaning that up. It can also clean up, like say for instance, you over-clean sometimes. People will over-clean a tank and they'll actually get a bacterial bloom or there won't be a balance there and you've overdone it. Getting a water change kind of helps recycle and kind of resets the tank a little bit. So there are multiple benefits from actually doing water changes. So if we want to recap here real quick, everyone automatically thinks, oh, I'm going to do a water change and I'm going to help with my cycle. I'm going to help remove any nitrates, any ammonia. That is true, but it does a whole lot of other things here. Getting breeding going, stimulate growth hormone, removing excess algae and phosphates, get your plants going. And in general, it just helps recycle the tank a little bit in terms of getting rid of anything excess that you may not even know of. And so it helps with actually the filters as well. So it does a lot for you, and water changes themselves, regardless of how often you do them, you want to actually get in a rhythm routine of actually doing the same things over every single week or every 2 weeks, depending on what your schedule is. And getting into those schedule and in that rhythm routine will actually help the tank a lot. Regardless of what your maintenance schedule is, every tank has some different needs and wants, and depending on what your outcomes are and what you're trying to get out of it. But what you want to think about is you got to get out of that in the box thinking of, okay, water changes are only good for one or two things. They actually do a whole bunch of things for you. And it can also help you actually identify anything that's off really fast. So if you get a regular scheduled water change system, you can actually start looking at and evaluating, okay, everything has been working the way I normally do every 1 or 2 weeks, and something's off here. You can actually delineate to a problem really, really quick. So again, I have all these tanks, but they all serve different purposes, and they all have different needs and desires, but I'm always trying to get into a scheduled water change system just for each of these tanks so I can actually see what's going on. I think with water changes too, it's real important to actually realize too that almost every single fish disease that is out there, if you look at any of the disease books and prevention books, they'll actually say that almost every single disease can be prevented if you actually do a regularly scheduled water change maintenance system within your tank, and actually trying to bypass water changes by actually trying to create planted sumps or something else to actually help you avoid from doing that work actually leads to potential more problems. Not saying sumps are bad or anything else is bad, but if you just get into a scheduled maintenance schedule, you can actually prevent probably 95, at least 95% of all diseases and any problems that you would have from actual aquarium problems or diseases or anything that would actually bring down the dexterity of the health of the fish. So really what it comes down to is that if you want to have healthy, clean fish and you want to be able to have a clean tank and you want to be able to get all that excess of waste out of the tank, it's a closed box, it's a closed glass box. It's not a river that's getting gallons and hundreds and thousands of gallons of new water every second. You have a closed box, you have an enclosed system, and you have to make sure that it is actually maintained and taken care of on a weekly or bi-monthly basis, however you want to schedule it. And neglect just leads to more problems. So I hope this is kind of a reminder that you want to actually keep up with those water changes and know that it does more than just help with the nitrogen cycle. It does a whole bunch of other benefits to the actual tanks. Until next time, Fish Baby Daddy.